The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Sages of India, Part 7. A rather sadder chapter of India's history comes now. In the Gita, we already hear the distant sounds of the conflict of sects, and the Lord comes in the middle of to harmonize them all. He, the great preacher of harmony, the greatest teacher of harmony, Lord Sri Krishna. He says, "In me they are all strung like pearls upon a thread." We already hear distant sounds, the murmurs of conflicts, and possibly there was a period of harmony and calmness when it broke out anew, not only on religious grounds, but rose possibly on caste grounds. The fight between the two powerful factors in our community, the kings and the priests. And from the topmost crest of the wave that deluged India for nearly 1,000 years, we saw another glorious figure, and that was our Gautama Shakyamuni. You all know about his teachings and his preachings. We worship him as God incarnate, the greatest, the boldest preacher of morality that the world ever saw, the greatest Karam Yogi, as disciple of himself, as it were. The same Krishna came to show how to make his theories practical. There came once again the same voice that in the Gita preached, "Even the little dun of this religion saves from great fear." Women or Vaishyas or even Shudras all reach the highest goal, breaking the bondages of all, the chains of all, declaring liberty to all to reach the highest goal. Come the words of the Gita, rolls like the thunder, the mighty voice of Krishna. Even in this life, they have conquered relativity, whose minds are firmly fixed upon the sameness, for God is pure and the same to all. Therefore, such are said to be living in God. Thus, seeing the same Lord equally present everywhere, the sage does not injure the self by the self, and thus reaches the highest goal. As it were to give a living example of this preaching, as it were to make at least one part of it practical, the preacher himself came in another form, and this was Shakyamuni, the preacher to the poor and the miserable. He who rejected even the language of the gods to speak in the language of the people, so that he might reach the hearts of the people. He who gave up a throne to live with beggars and the poor and the downcast. He who pressed the pariah to his breast like a second Rama. You all know about his great work, his grand character. But the work had one great defect, and for that we are suffering even today. No blame attaches to the Lord. He is pure and glorious. But unfortunately, such high ideals could not be well assimilated by the different uncivilized and uncultured races of mankind who flocked within the fold of the Aryans. These races, with varieties of superstition and hideous worship, rushed within the fold of the Aryans and for a time appeared as if they had become civilized. But before a century had passed, they brought out their snakes, their ghosts, and all other things their ancestors used to worship, and thus the whole of India became one degraded mass of superstition. The earlier Buddhists, in their rage against killing of animals, had denounced the sacrifices of the Vedas. And these sacrifices used to be held in every house. There was a fire burning, and that was all the paraphernalia of worship. These sacrifices were obliterated, and in their place came gorgeous temples, gorgeous ceremonies, and gorgeous priests, and all that you see in the modern times. I smile when I read books written by some modern people who ought to have known better that the Buddha was the destroyer of Brahmanical idolatry. Little do they know that Buddha created Brahmanism and idolatry in India. There was a book written a year or two ago by a Russian gentleman who claimed to have found out a very curious life of Jesus Christ. And in one part of the book, he says that Christ went to the temple of Jagannath to study with the Brahmins and became disgusted with their exclusiveness and their idols. And so he went to the Lamas of Tibet instead, became perfect, and went home. To any man who knows anything about Indian history, that very statement proves that the whole thing was a fraud. Because the temple of Jagannath is an old Buddhist temple. We took this and others over and then re-Hinduized them. We shall have to do many things like that yet. That is Jagannath. And there was not one Brahmin there then, and yet we are told that Jesus Christ came to study with the Brahmins there. So says our great Russian archaeologist.